So could you say a few words about how you were when you started art therapy?
Well, it was suggested to me, to come to the art therapy by one of the social workers in the hospice, because she had called out to the house to see me after Tommy had passed away. And Tommy had only passed away about 8 weeks when she suggested this to me, and I thought, really? What use is this going to be to me? And I said to her, like, art, I can't even draw 2 straight lines. But she says, no, it's not that. It's just for you to go and meet other people. So I said, well, I'm not doing anything else in my life. I'm at a loss. I'm empty. My home's empty. My heart's empty. So I've nothing to lose. So I went along, and I was very hesitant, even when I came in. But once the other women turned up and we all started chatting, you start to realise, at the end of the day, we're all the same. So we sat around the table, and there was all pencils, pens, markers, you name it, and pages and things. And as the lady explained to us, if you can just lift the items up and hold them, and you don't have to do anything. But at the end of it all, yes, I had drew something, and I was very surprised at what came out. Because what came out really, really, really did portray how I was feeling.
Okay. So could you say something about this first piece that you've chosen?
Yes. This first piece, as I said, it just flowed, and at the end I didn't even realise that I had done this. And what it signifies to me is that the chain was broke. And I felt heartbroken, lonely, afraid. What was I going to do? How was I going to continue my life? Tommy and I were now separated. It's not something that we wanted. It's not something that we ever thought would happen at this stage in our lives, but it did. And I just felt, as I say, broken, just like this chain.
Okay. And can you remember what it was like making that piece in art therapy on that first night?
To be honest, it just came out. I had no emotion while I was doing this. It's just something that put a marker in my hand, and this just happened. But I was glad that I did it. And I thought to myself, but this is how I'm feeling, and I can't express this any other way. I had no words. People would come to you and they would say, how are you? And you felt like screaming because you had no words. There are no words. But yet all of a sudden this came out on a page, and I did feel a sense of relief when I seen this.
Okay. So really something about making the image overcame that difficulty of putting things into words.
Yes, to me the image was more powerful.
Okay.
Just even for me myself, I was able to acknowledge this is how I feel.
Okay, can you say something about the second piece?
Yes, right. This was the week that I didn't want to come. Okay, I had been to 2 previous ones, and I thoroughly enjoyed them, and I went home, and I did have a sense of peace about me when I went home, because I was sharing life experiences with other people who were suffering grief as well. But I don't know what came over me. I just thought, no, I can't do this anymore. But I decided, okay, well, the least I can do is go and tell them I'm not going. And when I got to the door and I seen the other women there and the facilitator, I just felt, something, I do want to be here. This is something that I want. But what this one describes to me is, these are all the empty places in my life, the empty places in my heart. I often talk about this when I'm talking to people, the emptiness of it all. So at the start, if I'd have drew this, there would probably been either a blank page, or there would have been just empty squares all over it. But now what I started to realise then was that I am starting to fill these empty spaces with other things are coming along, and I'm able to fill these empty spaces. They're not all filled. I don't know if they'll ever be filled, but the realisation that life does go on and you're better embracing it and going with what is coming along than just sitting there and doing nothing.
So at what point in the art therapy did you make this piece, and what was it like for you making that piece?
I think this was probably about, the middle of the course.
Yeah.
This was about, as I say, me realising just how empty I am, how empty my heart is, how empty my life is, and that at that stage, I just felt that there's nobody could fill me up again with love and with care. That now that Tommy was gone, that was it. I was saying to the girls one of the weeks, I miss holding his hand. I miss that hug that you only get from, your life partner and things like that. And that's why I drew this piece, because this is the emptiness that I was feeling. But then with coming to the art therapy and talking to other people and expressing myself, that I realised that there are some of these parts of my life that are getting filled up again. And as I say, they might never all fill up, but at least there are parts of them that will fill up. And that was the week of what I call the stones. There were stones on the table, and I was drawn to one, and I lifted it and I held it in my hand, and all of a sudden it was like Tommy holding my hand again. My hand was full, and I did sit and cry because I was so emotional about it. But I felt that I could sit and cry. It wasn't a case of me feeling stupid or, there's people around here. We had become so relaxed with each other and enjoying each other that you just felt comfortable,
So there was something then, it's particularly about that stone for you, that the physicality sometimes of the art materials.
Yes.
That was important.
Yes, definitely. As I say, the pens and the markers and the crayons and everything, and you didn't think, because the thing I felt about it was, although there was art materials there and there was the pages and everything, I felt that if at any time we did stop talking or there was a lull, you didn't feel uncomfortable because you had the art materials and that to use. So you could go into your own wee world and create what was there, and you didn't feel, that there was, here we have to start talking again because there's nobody talking. No, you could go into your own wee world. So although you were in the group and you were enjoying the group, but you could also be in your own wee world and share even that wee world with your loved one. So this to me is what was coming out.
Okay. So what would you say changed for you between these two times?
Okay, well, the first one, as I say, I didn't even want to be here. I think I was just here because I was being polite to the person that had asked me would I come along, and I was only being polite to the people that were in the room. But I think I was at a stage, it was so early on in my grief that I was almost like a zombie. I was in shock. I just felt I just had been through the wars because I had been caring for Tommy for 2 years, and it was just full on, and then all of a sudden stop. The world stopped turning, as they say, and then I felt this awful break in the relationship. So when I came here, that is where I was, and that's why I drew that. And as I progressed, although this might look a bit dark and dour and empty, but as I keep saying, there are some of the spaces are filled, and that is because when I feel that you sit down with other people and you have a common bond, that you can start talking and reflecting and helping each other. And this is what was happening in our group. We were helping each other, possibly without even realising that we were helping each other. And so to me, and I know I've only showed these 2 pieces of art, but there are more. And as I progressed, they actually did get a lot lighter and there was more flow from me over. It was almost like a flower opening up over
Yes.
the weeks. You know, it was like from a tight bulb, and then all of a sudden, you know, I was starting to come out and face the light again. You know, so.
Okay, thank you. So can you say a few words about how you are now and what changes you have experienced from your art therapy?
Well, to be honest, I'm still very lost.
Mhm.
I'm still very lonely. I'm still very empty. I often wonder what happened.
Mhm.
Why did it happen? Why has this happened to me? But I can sort of experience it better now. You know,
Mhm.
I can realize now that it's not me. These things happen to everybody.
Mhm.
And having that group of people around the table and listening to their experiences, you realize that these things happen to everybody every day of the week. There's nothing you can do about them. I've come to realize that you've no control over it. There's nothing you can do about it, and life moves on. And I've started to realize that I will now move on as well. Where if I'd have been left on my own in isolation, say in the house, trying to deal with this or deal with it with my own family, it still would not have awoke me to the fact that this is life.
Mm.
Although it's death, it's life.
Yes.
And we have to keep moving on, or as the old saying goes, you either sink or swim. And I've decided I'm going to keep swimming.
Okay. So have you had any other sort of therapy, and how was art therapy different from that other therapy?
Well, at the present, I'm attending the family therapy. The family therapy, as it says, are groups of family that are brought together. At the start, it's like, you know, most therapy, you're sort of identifying yourself and what brought you there. But with the art therapy, it's, to me, it's more about you as the individual, you as a person. With the family therapy, you're there with other people and groups of people, and it is very good. But the two of them are just so completely different. You know, what I take away from the art therapy is me. I'm Anne Marie. I'm not a mum. I'm not a granny. I'm not somebody else's widow, which, you know, yourselves. But I am me. And that's another thing that I learned from the art therapy. I started to become me again. With the family therapy, it is very good. You feel a lot more cosseted in it because, as I say, you're with your own family in your own units, and it helps people then talk as families and you know, share their experiences of what they've been through. But it's just not as personal.
Okay.
That's the difference with the art therapy. But it's not personal in the art therapy that you feel you're ever on the spot or you're ever homed in on. No, you're there with that group of people and you just comfort each other, and where you're like an individual, but you're in a group.
Okay. And is there anything else that you would like to mention?
Well, I would just like to say that maybe art therapy isn't for everybody. All of us are different. But what I would say about it is that it helped me, and I know it helped the other women that were in our group. I lost my husband 2 years ago to cancer, but he didn't die until last year because I was nursing him. But I used to look at him and say, cancer has stolen my husband. And as I say, we had 2 years together, his last 2 years. But when he did pass away, it was absolutely soul destroying and devastating. And I just feel that if this lifeline had not have been reached out to me and I hadn't took it, that I would still be in a very dark and lonely place. But the art therapy, as I said to you, is to me, there's almost like a spiritual side to it that brings out what's inside you. There's people don't like to talk. There's people like to keep themselves to themselves. But when you're doing art therapy, you can't do these. And you know, if it is offered to you, you know, take it, because you don't have to stay. You can come once and say, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
But unless you come and you sit down and that facilitator is there as well, helping you, guiding you, you'll never know.
Mm.
And it's just as they say, you know, until you walk in somebody else's shoes, you don't know what's happening to them. So I would encourage anybody that's given this opportunity, it's a lifeline. And I would just say, take it and see what happens.
Thank you.